Welcome
Welcome
back.
back to another episode of
Let
Lewwe
we
Go
go
There.
there. Yeah.
And today,
We're going to go there on the messy middle.
so what is the messy middle?
Oof. I feel like there's so many things that are considered the messy middle, but mainly when I think about it, I think it's like we're all going through challenges. Life is lifing all over the place.
All
And
over the place.
and a lot of times, whether it's shame, whether it's that need for perfectionism, but it's hard to share with people when you're in the thick of it. So when you're right in that messy middle part that's just not cute, it's not polished, it's not processed. Um, that's where a lot of times I know I have done this in my life many times where I just go really in and I just need to kind of process on my own before I share,
Mm-hmm.
which I will say is healthy. So,
Okay, so
so yeah,
yeah.
so that's why I'm saying this is very layered because I can see where I wish I would have shared more in the moment.
Mm-hmm.
And then other times where I need to respect my process because there is something to be said about when you're not sure yourself and you're hearing everybody else's opinions,
Mm-hmm.
that can also be more confusing and clouding.
Yeah.
And it's bad also, or not necessarily bad, but when you shut everyone else out and try to deal with it on your own because we aren't really fully equipped and meant to do that.
Okay.
So,
So there's a difference between emotional vulnerability and emotional transparency.
mm,
So emotional transparency is kind of like what you're saying is healthy, where you deal with something on your own and then after like you reach out to your friends and your loved ones and you say, "Who I was like going through it. Like, let me tell you about it."
mhm,
And you're able to walk them through what happened, how you feel, how you process everything. And you do that on your own versus emotional vulnerability, where you're processing everything while keeping the people in your life aware of what is happening. Not necessarily to get their input in that way, but
mhm,
it's like part of your processing.
mhm.
So how do you feel about the vulnerability?
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm glad that you phrased it that way, because I definitely have at a lot of times not been as vulnerable. And I understand and I'm easy on myself as to why. I've been proven many times why I couldn't be vulnerable and safe around certain people, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, but I aspire to, and I think I am a lot more vulnerable now,
Mm-hmm.
where, before I feel like it was a big part of it. Like I wanted to, and you could say it's ego also. There's so much, like I said, that goes into it, where I wanted to be able to show people the other side. Like, when everything is like all great again, and kind of like talk about it and that. But I feel like not having that vulnerability piece is really detrimental
Mm-hmm.
because how can you kind of trust that? And also, it's very isolating because
Yeah.
somebody who is in the messy middle, they
Mm-hmm.
don't want to see the polished prettiness after. Um, they want to know, like, how are you dealing with that? What are the tools? And even not like if you're just like a hot mess, just like crying away, like that is so human and that is
Mm-hmm.
so authentic and being vulnerable. So I do think vulnerability can connect us in a lot of
Mm-hmm.
those ways. But yeah, like what about kind of times of your life where you either shied away from sharing the messy middle or felt like you did that? And also, I feel like, sorry, one more thing. There are certain levels too where some people should and are privy to that, the check-ins, like the
Mm-hmm.
always check-ins,
Mm-hmm.
versus like the whole entire
Oh
world
yeah,
needs to be with
absolutely.
that, because like I don't agree with that part. I
You don't
don't
want to
think.
show your soft side to everyone, you know, like like a turtle. They have their hard shell that kind of faces the world, but they have like
Mm,
their soft side beneath. So not everyone deserves access to you, and that's definitely not what I'm saying to like tell the world and like
yeah,
cry on camera every time
yeah,
you're feeling sad or anything like
yeah.
that. But for me personally, identified more as being transparent after the fact
Mhm.
than letting people in my life. And I think it's because I had a certain level of awareness, but not everything requires just like having the mental ability to classify everything that's going on in your life. Sometimes you need to feel what's in your body sometimes. And I think that's what has helped me progress along my journey to find more balance between knowing when to be vulnerable and when to be transparent and who to be those things with, because that is also equally important. As you said, um, you need to be safe, and not everyone is giving you that safety. Sometimes you have wolf in sheep's clothing. Like there are some people that I told certain things to that, like, now in hindsight, I wish I didn't.
And they kind of weaponize it in a
Yeah,
way. Hmm.
yeah, they kind of weaponize it. So it's all about that balance. So I think, I feel so safe with you, and I feel so safe to people who I've known for a long time. Maybe we didn't always like have cross paths, but like now we have. And I know that I feel safe with you because I can tell that you are a genuine soul. And I think the more that we lean into those genuine connections by ourselves being more authentic, that we're able to suss out people better and have more of that vulnerability with the people who can be there for us, and just let the transparency be with whoever we deem fit at that point in time.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. The other thing too that is like running through my mind is like, again, coming from, and I feel like we both have a bit of that, coming from that perfectionist and the need to people please, the need to kind of like be this example and not be like the hot mess express,
Mhm.
for wanting people to, it's just like be a person that other people can feel safe, feel like, oh yeah, like not necessarily like they have their shit together, because I don't think any of us ever do, but I
Mhm.
think that is what we're always shown so much, is that we should have our shit together by
Yeah.
X amount of time. So it's like a lot of times when we're not sharing, it can be because we're like, oh no, like, the judgments that may come. But it's like what you said, it's the right people that you are able to kind of suss that out with.
Mhm.
And I think, like you gave an example where people kind of did weaponize or use it against you, and I felt the same. It's like something that I'm so open about now and vulnerable about now, but it's almost going on a decade after it happened. So this is, again, not the messy middle. This is definitely like years after it starting, is just like my healing journey, right?
Mhm.
Like the healing journey in that beginning and that messy middle is really scary. And like for me, it's like the, what is it, the dark night of the soul. I feel I experienced that when I was hospitalized and literally gifted my CPTSD diagnosis. Like, unfortunately, who I was around wasn't really safe. And I
Mhm.
say that, like, not that they in the moment weren't there for me, but it was a family member, and he definitely shamed me afterwards.
Right.
So because of that, it made me kind of shut that part down
Right.
and not share with anyone the like horrific thing that I experienced on my own, and almost like carrying that as like this battle wound where it's like I was able to do this, kind of thing on my own. I don't recommend that for anyone. And that's a
Mhm.
big part of like why I want
Yeah.
to help people in their healing
Yeah.
journey, because it's like, don't close yourself off, but
Mhm.
understandably, if you are around the wrong people that are making you feel worse about yourself, it's hard to kind of know what to do in that case.
So, who are the right people? Because we need to know the criteria of who deserves that level of access in our lives. And we can say safe, yes, but I feel like we could dive more into that.
Yeah.
So, obviously, the people who show themselves to be genuine as you are, at the same time being your most authentic self. Two, I believe that people who stay educated, specifically to mental illness, that's like really important because we all be going through it and we all have our traumas. And whether it's just like a short term thing or like a long term thing that's affected us. I think being able to like really be like, wow, like when you came out with your CPTSD diagnosis, and like a lot of people, it was like crickets. It's like people,
Yeah.
I don't think people are necessarily aware of what that means and
Hmm.
what CPTSD looks like.
Hmm.
Like it was something that I learned from with you actually.
Yeah.
So I think it's like we know what PTSD is, but like that takes it to
That
a whole
C
other
is a whole nother
level.
level. Yeah, like literally being told, I have CPTSD from complex childhood trauma and abuse. So it's not like it's one thing, it is like a bunch of things. And so if you imagine like PTSD, which we all know mostly related to, soldiers in the war that had this experience, and like you hear loud noises and all of that kind of stuff is very triggering. So there's a lot that goes into it. And then there's obviously a lot of therapy that needs to be done to be able to kind of deal with that. But even that's the other thing too, is like depending on what age we're talking to. And, there are people that are, if they're not open to mental health and they don't want to talk about the hard
Mhm.
things, which like that's why we go there. We like to go there on things that people don't want to talk about. Then they will kind of try and quiet you, right? But
Mhm.
it's like I have reached the point where I obviously am safe. And again, I couldn't be going through the messy middle or be happy to going through messy middle with anyone else but you.
Mm.
So I'm glad that there's that. And it's also something where sorry to say this, but we're going to go through the messy middle multiple times in our lives. It's
Yeah.
not like a one and done situation. Life is this like fun little roller coaster ride. We're leveling up, we're doing all these things, and there are going to be things that come across that are challenging, are difficult. And if we're able to do that and we're able to share that more, in the long winded way to answer your question, who do we share that with? It's people that are as open as we are with them.
Mhm.
Like I was listening to something recently and it was about, friendships and how to measure that and everything. And it's like if you're constantly pouring in, pouring in, pouring in and you're not being poured into, then that's not
Mhm.
somebody I'm going to share my messy middle with.
Yeah, a big part of being safe is reciprocity.
Yes, reciprocity, even consistency,
Mhm.
that kind of thing where you're like, okay, I can actually count on this person.
Mhm. Dependable.
Dependable, yeah, and
And
non-judgmental, of
yes,
course.
yeah,
Yeah.
I was about to talk about like prejudice. Like if you know
Hmm.
someone has prejudice, it don't matter how educated you are, because that's what I spoke about first, like like continuously learning. But some people learn and they still can't wrap it around their brains, like what position you are in.
Hmm.
And you need people who have empathy. I think empathy is what it boils down to at the end of the day.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely have to have that kind of that care, that just like fully, like the way that attention spans be, like we were talking about in the last episode about consumption and everything. It's like someone that will, while you are pouring out your, heart and soul, they're actually listening, they're actually connecting, they're not like trying to compare it to themselves, think of that.
Mhm.
So that's a big thing too, I
Yeah,
feel like.
I think like not comparing it to another person, but also I love when people are able to share their experiences with me
Oh
about
yeah.
something that is similar to what I was going through. Like I I find strength in that. I find wisdom in that often as well. So it depends, because there are some people who will try to make it a competition
One
and try
ups,
to, yes, level up on you,
the
and
one
that
uppers.
is a red flag that I
Yeah.
would say is almost like a yellow flag. Like it's hard to like
It's a you flag.
identify. It's a me flag. It's hard to identify, or I guess it just takes a little bit more discernment.
Yeah, and again, not everybody's the same, but this is why being connected to your body, because I will feel it. I don't need anyone to say anything. I will just feel it, and I'm right 100% of the time. Like
Hmm.
it's something you can
Some
also
people
feel
are
with
more
energy.
gifted
Yeah.
than others, and she's definitely gifted in that department.
But if not, believe people when they say things. That's a
Hmm.
big one. Like we always want to be like, oh, well, did they mean that? Well, they said it, right? So it's like kind of taking it that way.
Hmm.
But
You're too good for me. Yeah, you are. Run.
that's right. But yeah, and I mean you're definitely not there, and I would say I'm not there, but according to the rest of the world I am in middle age, which is so ridiculous. So even that, the messy middle of being someone that is in their 40s, I'm so grateful that I have friends that are that age that can relate to that we can send jokes about and everything else, because it is a tough thing, right? Like especially as a woman, like I don't know when I will be in Perry, but it's like I have friends my age that are there. So it's like that whole kind of thing is really challenging. That if you're doing it alone, that's what the patriarchy wants. That's why it
Mhm.
hasn't been talked about for so long, because, women don't want to bring that up. And it's like, why not? Like, we're all experiencing it. Like, it
Mhm.
is just such a connecting
Yeah.
feeling to be able to go through that
It's
together.
so sad because I feel like we're born to compete with each other from so young that by the time you reach that age, it's like, who are the women I am around, and what is the quality of my relationship with them? Like, I don't
Mhm.
even feel safe to like express to them what I'm going through, even though they're going through the same thing.
Yeah, which we may have to do a part 2 on friendship, because I don't know how much we covered the last time, but to me that's not a friend then.
Mhm.
So it's choosing the people that are in your circle. Again, we said on the last episode, your culmination of the 5 people you spend the most amount of time with.
Mhm.
And just like making time for yourself also. If you're, doing things that are nourishing you, like whether it be some kind of physical activity, when you're going to those places, you'll find that you can connect with those people. And those may
Mhm.
be your people that you can talk to about the messy middle, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I love that.
Yeah. But it's just one of those things where I think there's not a clear cut answer on it. You just need to see, like, okay, I'm going through this right now. What would feel better? Would it feel better? Because it's okay, like, to have that day or two where you just want to shut the world out. You just want to cry. You just want to, whatever you want to do. That is really healthy, I feel like.
Mhm.
But then it's like when you're getting to the point where, you know what, I'm feeling really lonely and I'm isolating myself. I really should just reach out to a friend.
Yeah.
I find that when I didn't share as much, as I said, I feel like that's changing a lot. I always felt like I don't want to be a burden. I don't want to be that friend that's just like there and like bitching and complaining or like dumping all their traumas and everything. And then it's like you flip it back and you're like, but wait, am I not that person? Don't
Yeah.
I love when they come to me and all of that? So I think that was a big thing, was me dropping that, whether it's the ego of protection,
Mhm.
the letting go of the need to of perfection as well, is like, no, let me like share this, because whether it's the exact same situation or just a feeling, it's very relatable, and then that person feels less alone and I feel less alone.
Yeah.
So it really is for everyone.
Yeah, so we all require some level of support. And if you feel isolated, as I see like many comments, and like people express, like, find your community. This is why we say like find your community at the Let Me Go There podcast, find your community at Fit and Well, at the Pole Point. Like, like we are here. Ange offers life coaching if that's something you want to do, and you have that level of privacy and safety.
Yeah.
So, yeah, just do what you gotta do. If you have friends and family, like, lean on them.
Yeah, and
Lean on
don't
them
think
once
that,
they're safe.
and never ever think you're the only one going through this. I feel if you are going through the messy middle, I just kind of want to say, stay off social media. Connect to people, but connect to them, phone call if you can. That's really good. Nice little like FaceTime or video chat,
Or IRL,
or IRL is the
FaceTime.
most preferred. Really just try to stay, because the problem is that you are going to just see everyone's highlight reels and you're going through the shit. Like,
Mm-hmm.
you're in the thick of the shit. And when you're in the messy middle, the last thing you want to see is someone's, elaborate, like, yeah, whatever, like
Mm-hmm.
happy
Curated,
ending,
yeah.
curated. And the thing is, we all do this too, is like, understand too, when people are posting those things, it doesn't necessarily mean they're at that. They may be in the messy middle and then doing that to cheer themselves, right?
Yeah.
So just try not to do the comparison thing. When you're in that, never compare it, because we all get there at different times. We're all on different parts of the journey. So, just my thing is, always be happy for people when things are going well, not envious or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
And always, it goes back to that empathy thing. When they're not, just be there for them. Just like
Mm-hmm.
say something of encouragement. Let's not ignore that, because that's, I think, the thing that keeps people, like I will say with myself at a time, more isolated, is because I didn't really feel the support. So why am I going to put myself out there? So just
Mm-hmm.
be that support for someone.
Yeah, remember, shared joy is double joy. shared grief is half the grief.
I love that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So I feel like
Yeah.
that is a beautiful place to wrap up this
Yeah.
episode. It
Absolutely.
was lovely talking to you about the messy middle. We all go through it and we all need support. So find your support, find your circle,
And
and
you're not a hot mess. You're just
going
figuring it
through
out. You're
it.
going through it. We're
Yeah.
all doing that. So let's just help each other out.
Yeah.
And yeah, we'll see you in the next one.
Bye.
Bye.